Testing, testing. All right, cool. We are live. What's up, car fam? I haven't done this in a long time. This is a completely different setup. So, testing out camera angles, lighting, audio, all that good stuff. Just moved about a few weeks ago now, and so lots has been happening. Been driving some pretty cool cars a little bit here and there, and just wanted to hop on, kind of give you guys a couple updates on what's going on with the channel, certain cool cars that I've been checking out, seeing. I know you've been seeing some of the community posts here on YouTube about like Civic Type R, the Acura Integra Type S, as well as the Acura TLX Type S. There's been some BMW stuff, things with Audi, so it's been really cool, honestly. I know one of the things that I've been wanting to do on this channel is obviously post a little bit more consistently, and today I was thinking through some ideas and potential formats, and I know I've posted some stuff this week kind of going over some ideas that I have. And so one thing that recently was announced this week was actually the podcast features that YouTube has. And so I've been kind of thinking of some different potential ways to use that on the channel for some more long form content that's a little bit more conversational and things like that, especially when cars are coming out. I don't have access to all of the new ones that, get released ahead of time and then kind of get shown all over YouTube and things like that. And so, but I do always usually know about the vehicles and have like specs and details and just kind of my thoughts and opinions on them and things like that. And so I think kind of incorporating some sort of like updates and conversations around those cars. I'm a part of several like Facebook groups and things like that for new vehicles coming out and just other enthusiasts and things like that. So I think it'd be cool to kind of do some maybe like driving kind of podcasts where it's me sharing updates, considering like a POV style, but maybe a different camera angle as well. So just a couple ideas that I've had. I haven't listened to a podcast where it's fully centered around vehicles and it's actually like someone driving in the car, and then you're also hearing, let's say, exhaust notes and intake sounds and different things like that. Because the idea I have is to share those updates and share news and kind of have a conversation, but also have a separate mic set up to where you could hear the exhaust on the car as well as maybe under the hood, but most likely the exhaust. That probably get the best kind of unique sound. So that's one of the ideas that I have. It'd be cool to maybe do like some 30-minute-ish videos where you could hear all of that while I'm also talking about just different car news. I haven't seen that happen, and so I think it'd be a pretty cool and interesting format. So that's one idea that I have. But one of the things that I'm really looking to do is to share things in a simple way that I could actually like be more consistent with. So today I spent probably a good amount of time just going over like how I want to set up this layout here and kind of, doing more live streams and things like that too. It's always an easy way to pump out content because it's already, I'm live, it'll save to my YouTube channel and things like that. And then the cool part too is we get to engage in these conversations where people are kind of sharing their inputs and different ideas about, the Honda Civic Type R and dealership markups and just all these different things that have been really cool in the past, and I want to do it a little bit more. Sometimes I just overthink the creative process and stuff, so really trying to work through that and just press record, get some stuff out there, have conversations about cars with everyone that's a car enthusiast like myself. So I did want to kind of go over some different things that I've been thinking and just my overall impressions. I haven't done a follow-up video about the Acura TLX Type S, and I know even like when I was looking in the YouTube studio and things like that, I could see what people are searching for and like how much search volume there is and what stuff doesn't have enough video coverage basically on YouTube. And the Acura TLX Type S is actually a prime example of that. And so one of the things that I found with that car is that it's a really good daily, but I feel like it's catered to someone that really doesn't necessarily prioritize the driving dynamics of a vehicle, and they're kind of past that stage of where they want to have that raw experience every time they get in the car. To me, I feel like it's the perfect car for someone like my uncle or aunt that like a sporty experience but don't want the sporty feel in their seat, for example. So I think that car actually like strikes that balance perfectly. I know you can do some mods and different things like that. I think the car looks incredible, especially the exterior. The interior, I think, is where it's already showing its age, even though it hasn't been out that while. From the jump, that car's interior, for certain choices that they made, I feel like already put it in a certain lane. Versus when you compare it to some like the German competitors, those cars always, to me, have more of a future-proof interior design that's a little bit more minimal, but also still incorporates the latest technology and things like that. So that's kind of my initial impressions on the Acura TLX Type S. It's really heavy, so you kind of miss out on the potential performance of that car, but I've heard the handling is really, really great. And I could tell even just from when I drove it, I was impressed with, the handling and things like that. But as far as like power delivery, I feel like the transmission is the weak spot where the engine probably has enough power to like, handle everything. But when you take into consideration the weight as well as the transmission not, in my opinion, being as strong as especially something like a ZF transmission or even a dual clutch, of course. And I feel like it just takes away from that raw experience where it's just a little bit more snappy and sharp. So those are my initial thoughts on that car. Otherwise, I think it's really great, but I feel like it's really for, like, again, I said that it's for that person that doesn't really necessarily want to have that super sports car experience every day. Like, I don't think someone that would buy a Type R would be satisfied with the driving dynamics of a TLX Type S, and vice versa. Someone that doesn't want a Type R would absolutely love the TLX Type S. So that's what I kind of think that car is perfect for. But I'm curious what you think. Do you think the Acura TLX Type S is a good choice? Do you think it's overrated? Do you think for the price you'd go a different route? Super curious. Leave it in the chat as well. So if you're just joining, definitely leave some comments, questions. Today, I just wanted to have a casual conversation, really just to catch up with everyone here, get your opinions. I know we've been kind of chatting about a bunch of different cars on this channel, from BMWs, Hondas, Acuras, all that stuff, Audi. So hop in, let me know what you think. I know the Civic Type R is always, especially to me, like it's my dream car, but I know it's also a hot topic too, just all across the board, especially with dealership markups and things like that. So I found this website where someone in a Facebook group actually posted it, where they're tracking all of the dealers that do have an allocation and what the markups are. And basically it does range, anywhere from 5 over, which I think is still kind of rare, to 25 over, or even 30 over. But the average across the country from like California all the way to the East Coast is, I think, a little over 12,500 as a dealership markup. So if you are in the market for one, it is going to be pretty hard to get one at MSRP. It's going to take some work, but obviously they list those, markups and things like that. But some people are able to get those negotiated down, or they're able to swap out maybe accessories for some of that markup, so they do kind of get something instead of just paying the dealership straight profit. So that might be something that you want to consider. But yeah, the markups for those, I mean, they've had markups ever since those first came out. It's kind of a challenging thing, and definitely takes away from like what Honda's goal was, like a really, I guess you could say really like affordable in a sense, hot hatch that most people could actually attain. But with markups now, those things are like reaching $70,000 in some cases, especially when you factor in like tax and fees and things like that. Like you're easily in the 60s at some of these dealerships, and that just completely changes, what the original plan was, which was for it to be a little over 44 plus tax, and things like that. So I know some people have, gotten good deals and things like that, but, it is what it is. Another thing that I did want to go over is the Acura Integra Type S. That car, I think, is going to be such a sweet spot. Like I feel like it's gonna be such a sweet spot in the market. It's gonna have a little bit more tech and comfort than the Civic Type R, but I feel like it's gonna have 85 to 90% of the actual like capabilities and limits of the Civic Type R. The restrictions really are gonna come down to AR car review says I'm going Civic all the way. Yeah, I feel you. I'm team Civic for sure, but I do think for those that are maybe want a little bit more comfort, I think the Acura Integra Type S is going to be the one that some people are going to go for. The reason being is because I've driven the new FL5, did the passenger ride as well, and it is more, sport tuned. Obviously, super amazing, super capable car, and you can feel that even just from the seat. But for someone that maybe is maybe later 30s, early 40s, and kind of past that, but still kind of has that itch, I think the Acura Integra might kind of be that solution for them. But at the same time, some different springs or just whatever. Like, you're getting that car for a reason. Some of these people that are getting one, it's not their only car, so then, it's different, or they're just in a different place in their life and just love that experience. They actually track it and things like that. I would definitely choose Type R over, Integra Type S, especially factoring in price. The Integra is probably going to be easily 200 to 300 pounds more and things like that. And obviously you throw in like dealership markups, plus they're probably going to be charging, I'm going to say like 51, because it's going to be a fully loaded. It's not going to be like a base or anything like that. I feel like they're going to have one trim of the Acura Integra Type S, and it's going to be fully loaded, basically the A-spec with technology package. So yeah, I think that thing's going to be like 51 plus, tax, fees, and dealership markups, like you're in BMW/German territory. So, but I think it's going to look really cool. I think it's going to ride a little bit softer, be a little bit more comfortable. The exhaust note definitely sounds better than the Civic Type R from the video that we heard. I think I'm not surprised either, because the TLX Type S had a really nice exhaust note. It still wasn't as good as like other competitors, especially the Germans, and even like Hyundai, for example, like just crushed it. The GR Corolla, that one sounds good. So I don't know what Honda and Acura are really doing. They're playing it so safe when it comes to emissions. It must be like crazy future proof for how they're building those exhaust systems, or maybe they just don't have enough budget to allocate toward that part of the car. But it still takes away from the experience. But anyway, I think the Integra definitely sounds probably 25% better than the Type R, but most people anyway are going to go aftermarket and, upgrade that, because being someone that has a car that's like completely quiet, and then one that does have a really nice sport exhaust with, crackles and pops and things like that, and I think it drastically changes the driving experience. And especially like you look at the visual part of the Civic Type R and the Integra Type S, you see all of this like, sporty design happening, and then this exhaust sounds like whatever. I think that's something that like really takes away from the experience, but kind of is what it is. AR Car Review says, I feel like the markup for the Acura Type S will be too expensive for most people. Don't want a manual, so upping the price will, but in the range of other put in the range of other sports cars. Yeah, I think because I'm a huge like German car enthusiast as well. Like, I love what BMW does. I love what Audi does. And there's a couple other competitors that do some pretty cool, sports cars and things like that too. And I think once you hit 50s and 60s on a sports car, that's already like, for me, I'm already thinking like BMW M340i, even some of the compact SUVs that are performance kind of based, like your BMW X3M, different things like that. Like, some of those can really provide a unique experience, even compared to certain like sports cars and stuff like that. So, yeah, there's a ton of competition for sure for the Integra Type S. It's going to be in a segment that's, people are going to be like, well, should I just get the Supra then? I just feel like it's going to be tough. But I think it's still going to be one of those cars where it's like, because it's also so unique, it's still going to hold its value pretty well compared to the regular Integras. And you have the you know, foundation of the Civic Type R put into a more luxurious platform, I think that's pretty cool. But you could also be that person where it's like, should I go Lexus IS 500, spend a little bit more? The kind of buckets of like people's budget, I kind of visualize it like this. Like if you have 45 to spend, you probably have close to 55 to spend. If you have 55 to spend on a car, you could probably stretch it to 65, almost 70. So it's like once someone's in that kind of category of vehicle, that's when the options get really, really interesting. So it's going to be cool to see. Oh yeah, the new Z, forgot about that one too. I've never been like a huge Z person. I do respect it. It's like one of those cars where it's like the Challenger and, you know, Hellcat and stuff like that. Like I respect them. They're just not my type of car. But yeah, the Z seems like a really cool thing. I like what they did with the design on that one. It's especially like the rear lights and stuff, like it has this really like retro kind of look but brought into the modern era, almost like what Hyundai is doing with, they have this one car, it's no longer a concept because it actually runs and stuff, but it looks straight out of the 80s, has a huge rear wing, looks like it could be in, you know, IMSA racing on any day and stuff like that, but the lights are like super retro and stuff, so it's cool that they're kind of tying in that old school look with like modern technology and stuff. Another thing I've been kind of paying more attention to, of course, is the GR Corolla. Like you can't have a conversation about the Type R and not have that. And I feel like my problem with the GR Corolla is the interior. Like I get it's a basic car, you know, it's based off of the Corolla and things like that, but I feel like they could have done a little bit more to update it. And so that's the only thing that kind of like really kills it for that car for me. But like performance wise and what you can do, the all-wheel drive, the like size, it's way more like rally inspired, you can just tell, and it's a lot smaller than the Civic Type R. I've seen them like back to back and it's way smaller, it feels like. But yeah, that's the only thing with that. But you do save a ton of money. Like, is the Honda interior worth $10,000 more? It's kind of up to you to decide and things like that. But I still wouldn't necessarily buy the GR Corolla, but I definitely see why people do, especially like people getting those with the markup. Like I really, really feel bad as far as like the interior, because yeah, like we all get the cars for the experience, how they handle and how they sound and what they can do on track and things like that. But you're also sitting on the inside most of the time. So it's like, you have to take that into account too at the experience. But I also totally get it. Like you just want to have, you know, a great performing car, and like, yeah, it's trimmed down and they put all the money into the more important things. So if I did have to, you know, choose one, I would rather have a better performing car than one that looks great on the inside. But people that are paying $50K for that, like that interior would drive me crazy at that price. So just kind of my thoughts. But yeah, let me know what you're thinking and what cars you're kind of checking out and stuff too. Profit DJS, I'm a TLX Type S owner, but man, I'm curious about this new Integra Type S. Yeah, I feel like my prediction, no, most people aren't going to say anything because they already got the TLX Type S, but I feel like a good chunk of the owners that have the TLX Type S are going to be like, man, I should have waited for the Integra Type S. But it is what it is. I mean, those are going to have markups, and it's probably going to be easier to get a TLX Type S at a decent price than it is going to be the Integra Type S. So I feel like it's going to be cheaper to get the TLX Type S. That's just my prediction, based on like how things are going and stuff like that. But the regular Integra, like those are selling either MSRP or maybe 5 over. Like those aren't as bad, but like that's a totally different car and stuff like that. But the Integra Type S dealerships are, some of them are going to be pretty aggressive about that. AR Car Reviews says, that was a fire car. Honestly, I'm kind of disappointed about the Integra Type S. I drove the A-Spec and it was so slow, but it was selling for 40 grand. Yeah, I'm with you on the regular Integra. I would go Civic Si in a heartbeat for sure. Or even the Civic hatchback with the manual in the touring package. I think you can get it in that one. I would probably go that route before Integra, because inside's pretty much the same. I mean, obviously you're getting a little bit more luxury, but I still feel like for the price, the Integra doesn't really give you as much bang for your buck. But one thing I do like about it, though, I drove it and, you know, kind of took some fun turns and stuff, and it is a playful car. Like the rear will kind of like get out a little bit, and experiencing that in a front wheel drive car was pretty fun. So it's not horrible, but I just don't think it's worth paying 40. I think if you can get a Civic Si at, you know, a decent deal, then I think that's better than the Integra. But I think the Integra could be more so maybe like a lease. I don't, unless you plan on like really modding it and stuff like that. Like it's a cool car to build, it's nice. But the other thing that I don't like about the Integra is the space in the back. Most people are only going to be driving in the front and not really have passengers in the back, but unless your passengers in the rear are pretty short, like your head's already going to be hitting that if you're like 5'5", 5'6". So that was the one thing that I didn't like about the Integra, but we shall see. Other cars that I've driven, I know I have a ton of Honda fans, but I want to definitely cover a couple other things. I drove the last gen Audi RS3, and the first time I drove it, I was super, you know, excited, and I was like, this feels great and things like that. And then I drove it a second time, you know, probably about a month and a half later, and as crazy as it sounds, I kind of see what some of the complaints are about just the turbo lag and different things. So I kind of found myself not as enthusiastic about that last one. I feel like it's a really, really great car, like incredible historic engine, sounds good, things like that. But I would definitely probably prefer the latest one. I haven't driven it yet, but it just seems like it's a lot more interesting to drive. Or even the sweet spot would be like the S3 and stuff. But just kind of my thoughts. AR Car Review says, I'm trying to get a S650 Mustang, mass-produced, good power, and a V8 in somewhat similar price range. That's true. I feel like the Mustang doesn't get as much love as like some of the other like JDM and like German things, at least from what I'm checking out, because I'm not really a Mustang person, but it's one car that I absolutely respect. Like the exhaust note, what you're able to, you know, do with those, and the price for those, like it's a lot of car for the money, you know. And then they have so many different trims where you can pick your like toppings in a sense, like your flavor of how you really want that car to be like. So I think it's such a cool thing. I know most people probably, especially some of the people that are maybe subscribed to my channel and things like that, aren't really Hyundai fans, but I feel like that's one car that you should at least drive to check out. It just seems like it is worth the entertainment. Not that you should go and buy one, because, you know, that's totally up to you and things like that, but it's crazy how much more thrilling that one seems and sounds compared to other competitors and things like that. Like Hyundai is really like in the center of a lot of things, especially for like the price and stuff. Like they're doing some very interesting stuff over there. But leave a comment. Let me know, what do you daily drive right now? I'm very curious. It's always cool to know. Like I know we look at different cars every day and stuff like that, but I'm also curious, like what do you actually drive every day? Do you have just one car? Are you a two-car garage type of person? Like let me know what you like. So earlier, one thing I was saying is I've been kind of really thinking about the channel a lot more and wanting to come up with some creative formats of stuff that I could do more consistently. The challenge is, like most people, you know, we have full-time jobs and then, you know, family and other responsibilities and things like that. And so it can get really challenging to, you know, pick and choose what days you're going to create content. One of the things that I love doing is, you know, going out to dealerships, test driving different vehicles and checking them out. But it has a lot of limitations, especially because right now, it's still hard to find certain cars that I'm interested in. They're either like sold already, or just not available, and you know, different things like that. So that part's getting a little bit tricky, but I still want to have conversations about the cars that I'm into. So one format that I'm thinking about is having more of maybe like a podcast update type of video where I was mentioning earlier, my idea is to film the vehicle while I'm driving. Film the podcast or video while I'm driving, kind of POV style potentially or not. And then have like a 2 mic setup where you could kind of hear like the exhaust and things like that while I'm driving. So it's more of a dynamic experience versus just, hey, here's an update and you kind of hear noises here and there. But I think it'd be cool to just have that like constant, you know, shift changes and all these different things that would make it a little bit more dynamic. One thing I like is when I'm watching the Topher, and he does the like audio test where he'll play different, you know, musics to kind of let you know what the audio sounds like in the car and the speakers and things like that. But you also hear everything with the, you know, exhaust note and things like that. And he's like not talking at all. Like to me, it's music to my ears when I could hear what the engine's doing, hearing the exhaust, and if it has crackles and pops and downshifts, and you know, hearing all of that to me is super, super cool. So sometimes I wish more videos had that element to it, and so that's why I'm thinking of maybe combining like updates into like a podcast format, but you also hear some of those like unique mechanical sounds. So let me know what you think. Mary Carter, shout out to the wifey, a daily driving SQ5, but I think I'm going to go for an RS7 next April. Love it, love it. An RS7, oh man, those are so sick. I would love to drive one of those. And I feel like that car is it's so practical because it's like you basically have that lift back where you have all that space in the back. But you have that really low center of gravity, so the handling I'm sure is super good, but because Audi hits that sweet spot of like it's comfortable, but you could also take it on a turn pretty aggressively, or like it feels like it's floating when you're at, you know, a certain highway speed and stuff like that. So the R7 is definitely, I feel like, an underrated car. I haven't driven it, but just even looking at the design and like the uniqueness of that car, so sick. You will, honey, in April. Hey, let's go. RS7. All right, you could have your RS7. I'll have my 2023 RS3. There we go. Boom. So what about the SQ5 then? No more SQ5 or what? Oh, man. And then AR car reviews. I'm super curious because I don't think I've seen your channel before, but let me know what cars you're test driving or maybe, you know, reviewing next. I'm super curious. I'd love to know what your thoughts are on certain cars that are getting released and things like that. It would be really cool. Keep it in the garage. Down. Let's go. All right, so just wanted to go over a couple updates, check in with everybody. I know it's Saturday. I'll probably see some of you in the comments later today or tomorrow. So let me know what videos you'd like to see next, what format ideas, and just even channels that you really like. Send me those links. It could kind of give me some inspiration. But for now, gonna call it a day. Catch you guys in the next video. Peace.